The first article I wanted to look at is titled Trump's August Election Reinstatement Theory is Even Worse Than It Looks. It's on MSNBC.com. Now, when I first heard about this story, that Trump believes he's going to be reinstated in August, I had my doubts. I had my doubts that he actually believed that. Because I went to this website, patriots.win. I don't know if you guys know of it. It's basically the Donald.win. They renamed the website. They got a new domain name. The Donald.win used to be the Donald subreddit. It is the most extreme of the most extreme place that you can be. And the FBI has been all over that website since the beginning because they've been calling for violence and saying all kinds of horrific stuff on there since like day one. So I figured I'd go to the Donald.win, or what is now patriots.win, that's the new name, to see what they were saying about Donald Trump claiming that he's going to be president again by August. Because the original claim came from a New York Times reporter, I think. I forget her name. But she said that people in Donald Trump's inner circle were telling her Donald Trump believes he's going to be president again by August. So I go to patriots.win to see what Donald Trump's most ardent supporters are saying about it. Now, at the time, which, about a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks, whenever this originally broke, they were saying, that's bullshit, Donald Trump doesn't believe that, that's fake news, it's made up. That's what Donald Trump's most ardent supporters were saying, okay? Then, Donald Trump comes out with this video. Listen to this.
I want to thank everybody for the tremendous support you've shown. We're going to take back the Senate, take back the House, we're going to take back the White House, and sooner than you think it's...
Sooner than you think. What does that mean? Everybody thinks at the soonest it could possibly be 2024, right? It couldn't be sooner than that. So sooner than we think is before 2024. What does he mean by take back the White House sooner than you think?
Back the Senate, take back the House, we're going to take back the White House, and sooner than you think it's going to be really something special. But the love and the affection and the respect that you've given all of us, it's really important. The Republican Party is stronger than it's ever been, and it's going to be a lot stronger than it is right now. We're going to turn it around. We're going to turn it around fast. Thank you all very much. That support has been so incredible. Thank you.
This guy is so fucking cringy. Just listening to him talk, it just makes me cringe. But it's interesting to me that he said this little line right here.
We're going to turn it around fast. Thank you all.
He's going to turn the Republican Party around. He says it's strong, but it's going to be even stronger. We're going to turn it around. Implies that it's not strong right now, and it needs to be, right?
It's going to be a lot stronger than it is right now.
I'm interpreting this to mean that Donald Trump is kind of admitting that the Republican Party is pretty fractured at the moment, right? I mean, it is. Either the Republican Party is going to stand behind Trump, or Trump is going to form his own party. Those are the two options placed in front of the Republican Party over the past few months. And it sounds to me like the Republican Party has decided to give in to Donald Trump's bitch fit and stand behind him because they don't want to lose elections. That's fucking pitiful. But the strangest thing about that whole clip is this bit right here.
The Senate, take back the House, we're going to take back the White House, and sooner than you think.
I feel like we can't really sit here and say he doesn't actually think that anymore, right? I get the impression that he really genuinely does believe that he's going to take back the White House before 2024. There's a possibility the dude will run in 2024. No chance he's running in 2028. He's going to be like mid to late 80s at that point. I mean, the dude's already getting up there in years, isn't he? There's no way in hell he runs in 2028. So I think we're going to be done with the guy after 2024. That's my suspicion. Anyways, let's read this article on MSNBC.com written by Charlie Sykes. Trump's August election reinstatement theory is even worse than it looks. I'm afraid it's even worse than it looks. The National Review is now confirming that Donald J. Trump, the former president of the U.S., and probable Republican nominee in 2024, does indeed believe quite genuinely that he, along with former Senators David Perdue and Martha McSally, will be reinstated later this summer. That, of course, is not going to happen. It is, in fact, weapons-grade lunacy to imagine that it's even possible. But Trump's embrace of the story shows how the right's doom loop of craziness works, and how it's accelerating narratives that began in the fevered imaginations of his hardcore true believers. It should also remind us that even though an idea is fake, the consequences of a new big lie can be very real and even deadly. The term big lie here was chosen very specifically for this reason. It's not just lowercase b, lowercase l, notice. It's capitalized because it's a term. It's a term that has a very specific meaning. In the 1940s, I believe there's a guy named Joseph Goebbels, and he was Hitler's propaganda master, basically. And he came up with all of these ideas to propagandize to people, to get them on the Nazis' side. And one of the tactics he used was something called the big lie. You make something up. It's actually pretty elaborate, the idea behind it. You make something up and you add as much detail to it as you possibly can. The more detail that you add, the more credible it seems, even though the whole thing is bullshit from beginning to end. You remember Obamagate? That was another perfect example of the big lie. Obamagate was fabricated, completely fabricated from the ground up, but people started to believe it. It was gaining steam. I don't even remember what it was. Like, what was the accusation? It was this big fucking convoluted thing that Trump completely made up. Trump loves using the big lie. He does it constantly. And the election fraud thing is a perfect example of the big lie propaganda tactic. Anyways, let's keep reading. Delegitimizing our democracy is now central to Trump's agenda and his hopes for a political comeback, and polls suggest that his lies about the election have influenced tens of millions of voters. A Reuters Ipsos poll from May found that a quarter of Americans and 53% of Republicans actually believe Trump is the true president of the U.S. That's fucking insane. In this alternative reality, it's only a small step to believe their true president might really return. The idea of just such a magical, extra-constitutional Trumpian reinstatement was floated just last week at a QAnon conference. MAGA lawyer Sidney Powell said, without providing any evidence or details, that Trump can simply be reinstated, but a new inauguration date is set, and Biden is told to move out of the White House, and President Trump should be moved back in. That is not how it works. Biden won the election. Biden is the president. And if Biden, for one reason or another, wasn't the president anymore, it wouldn't go to Trump. It would go to the next person in line. Former president is not in the line of succession. There is a whole fucking line of succession. And Trump isn't in it, anywhere. Anyway, let's keep reading. The same idea has been amplified by Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy, whose baseless charges of election fraud brought him a $1.3 billion defamation suit from Dominion Voting Systems. He is countersuing for $1.6 billion. My God, this guy. I wonder if Mike Lindell really believes the garbage that he spreads, or if he's just completely full of it. I think Mike Lindell is a true believer. I think he is. I guess we'll never know. It's like that question, are Jehovah's Witnesses like leadership? Is the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, are they true believers? Do they buy their own propaganda? I think by and large they do. I think they are true believers, and it's the same with Mike Lindell. I mean, there are a lot of people in here that are not true believers. I don't think Trump really believes the things that he says. I think he's working the media. But I think Mike Lindell really buys this shit. For months, Lindell has been insisting that he would present evidence that would overturn Joe Biden's victory. In April, during his 2-day Frankathon, he announced he had produced a documentary called Absolute Interference that would change our world forever. He promised proof and evidence that China was attacking our country, and you're going to know that this election was flipped. Yeah, the Frankathon thing, I believe that that's when he was trying to start his own social media network. I think he called it Frank, didn't he? What a stupid fucking name for a social media network. Great name for a 70-year-old man. Bad name for a social media network. You know, Frank isn't even a bad name necessarily, just in general. But for social media, come on, man. You couldn't have come up with something better? I guess his social media network, Frank, flopped terribly because he decided that everybody on there was going to follow the Ten Commandments because he is a dominionist, an extremist evangelical Christian, a member of Christian ISIS, if you will. Let's keep reading. He followed up Absolute Interference with another documentary he called Absolutely 9-0, in which he promised that a unanimous Supreme Court would throw out Biden's victory and reinstall Trump. Guy is living in a delusion, really. The guy's living in a delusion. You don't reinstall a president like that in the United States. Is it a fundamental misunderstanding of how the political system works in the U.S.? Or what? What is it that's leading these people to these absurd fucking conclusions? Lindell also declared on Steve Bannon's podcast that Trump would be back in office in August. The evidence, which he compared to blood DNA at a crime scene, would be so overwhelming, he promised, that even Rachel Maddow would accept Biden's ouster. It's delusion, right? It's not a misunderstanding. It's a full-blown fucking delusion. So when we get there and they do take this down and look at it, when that vote comes out 9-0, they're going to have more trust that it's 9-0, he insisted. Wow, even the liberal judges did this, and we will get that case before the court. This is delusional, but now the former president appears to believe it, or at least pretends to. Days after Trump's former national security advisor Michael Flynn suggested the possibility of a military coup, he has since denied doing so despite it being captured on tape. New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman tweeted that Trump has been telling a number of people he's in contact with that he expects he will get reinstated by August. This is a quote from Maggie Haberman's Twitter account. Trump has been telling a number of people he's in contact with that he expects he will get reinstated by August. No, that isn't how it works, but simply sharing the information. It has to be fucking delusion at this point. I can't forgive this. This isn't like a misunderstanding. I can't chalk this up to a misunderstanding, certainly not on Trump's part. Trump was president for 4 fucking years. He has to know how the political system works at this point, right? The guy is surrounded by lawyers. Trump is so rich, and he was in a position at one point in time where he could say, I don't understand this. I don't understand this thing or that thing or whatever. Ask any question. His advisors and his assistants and everybody else would find the top person in the world to explain this subject to him and sit him down right in front of him and explain it beginning to end. Any question. Are there aliens? And how do we know that there aren't? And how do we know that there might be? And whatever. How does the Higgs boson work? Literally any question he could ever ask, and he could get the most intelligent and well-versed person in the world on this subject to sit down in front of him and explain it. To think now that he doesn't understand how the political system works is too absurd to me. This has to be delusion. Let's keep reading. The Daily Beast heard the same thing. In the past few weeks, 2 people close to Trump told the Daily Beast the ex-president had begun increasingly quizzing confidants about a potential August return to power. What's more, he claimed that a lot of highly respected people, who Trump did not name, have been saying it's possible. Lindell's pretty sure he knows where Trump got that idea. If Trump is saying August, the CEO told the Daily Beast, that's probably because he heard me say it publicly. Lindell's August date, by the way, is similarly based on guesswork and conspiratorial theories tied to non-existent election fraud in Arizona and a delusional hope that the Supreme Court will invalidate the election. Wherever he heard it, Trump appears obsessed with relitigating the election he lost. The Washington Post reported that the former president is increasingly consumed with the notion that ballot reviews pushed by his supporters around the country could prove that he won, according to people familiar with his comments. It doesn't matter if that is what the conclusion was, even if it turned out that Trump really did win, which it won't because he didn't, but even if that were the case, he wouldn't be president again. That chapter of his life is over. That's just what it is. The guy is obsessed with being in that position at any cost. I'm honestly surprised that we came out of this with as little violence as we did. I thought for sure Trump was going to call the military in and try to get them to do some crazy shit. The military, though, around the time of the election, explicitly said they would not get involved in the election. They explicitly said it. So kudos to the military, I guess, for standing up for democracy, or at least not standing up for authoritarianism. I don't know. This guy lives in a fucking delusion, and I cannot believe that we actually managed to get him out of office. I hope we don't see the day when he gets back in.